knew that I was far behind the other students and that I had a lot of catching up to do, but I knew that I was a fighter, and I knew that this was something that I wanted to do, so I was going to work as hard as I possibly could to catch up and get to where I needed to be and wanted to be. I just think of my life and my career as this very holistic thing, and that it's a give and take, and that it's not just about me, it's so much bigger than me.
Перформанс і про війну. Під час війни, коли ти в ній живеш, коли репетиції. Молодці! Ще активніше!
It's so vital and so critical for young people to be surrounded by people who support them in nurturing environments, to have mentorship, to have teachers who look like them, understand where they're coming from.
Hello again, Chinea Gwumake here, but y'all know that we go together. I wonder if any Gen Zs are in here, in the club. We all. Thank you, exactly. And it is my absolute honor and privilege to close out the Washington Post Global Women's Summit with the one, the only Misty Copeland.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So we have a tradition here that I started today, where I introduce you with a sport intro, but I'm actually gonna take some help from our family here. So softly, can we have a slow clap as I introduce this icon? Okay, here we go, 3, 2, 1. A woman who didn't just break barriers, she reset the standard for what excellence is. First Black principal dancer at American Ballet Theater, New York Times bestselling author, producer, founder of the Misty Copeland Foundation, the incomparable icon, Misty Copeland. Yeah.
Thank you.
We are sticking with that.
I love it.
Now, we all know you started with American Ballet Theater at the age of 19. Mm-hmm. You became principal dancer at 32. Mm-hmm. You just had your final performance at age 43. What came up as you took the stage for the final time?
I feel like I've been really intentional throughout my career in terms of how I've used my voice and the stages I perform on, because I was given an opportunity and I was given access by a woman who saw potential in me but wanted to give opportunity to young people of color who wouldn't otherwise find this opportunity. And so I feel like I've always looked at what I've been given as a means to be able to give back to others. And so I was ready. In the short, I was ready. I've had a full career. I've danced for American Ballet Theater for 25 years. And I feel like I've always known that I wasn't going to be, a ballerina that was being pulled off by her pointe shoes with my nails in the floor, it's not my time. I always knew that, I was gonna step off when I felt, good and just ready to pass it to the next generation. And I also feel like, I was the only Black dancer, female dancer at American Ballet Theater for the first decade of my career. And it's been, it's been quite a journey, but I've always known that there's only so much I can do on the stage by being the only Black body, performing these roles. And I feel like the power I have now in my voice and standing on the board of Lincoln Center and the Shed and American Ballet Theater now, I feel like this is the next step for me in terms of really elevating, making ballet more accessible, and having a power and voice, behind the scenes. I think that's kind of what I'm ready for.
You are so humble.
Yeah.
Because if I had Oprah, Gail, Jim Parsons, Chelsea Clinton, Debbie Allen, Felicia Rashad, Nicole Ari Parker show up, I would be flexing. I'm not gonna lie. Please, if you can, as a sis, can you spill us a little tea? What's the moment that you cherish from behind the scenes? Because this imagery is just phenomenal.
Oh, the moment I cherish from behind the scenes. I think just being able to, Debbie Allen's like a second mother to me. Like, all of these women and incredible people that have been meaningful to me throughout my career were there to celebrate. And so to be able to stand backstage and listen to Oprah speak and listen to Debbie speak and just feel like I'm a part of this lineage, that they've given me the tools and a platform for me to be able to walk through the doors behind them. And I understand the importance of what it is to be in this position and what I'm setting up for the next generation.
And I got chills when you said the word lineage as someone that is of culture, Nigerian American proudly. When you said lineage, I thought of how we stand on the shoulders of those who come before us. Mm-hmm. I think about how you have paved the way for generations to come, that we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. But as athletes, we understand, and I say athletes because we are athletes, you still have to go out there and perform.
Yes.
And you chose, if I'm correct, to not wear point shoes for that performance.
No, I did wear point shoes.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I said I wasn't going to. I took almost 6 years off from dancing before this performance, and I started training last October for it. It just happened now.
So what was the decision making there?
Well, I thought, I don't know, as a ballerina and as a Virgo, I was like, I'm not going to be ready in time with a year to prepare. And I was like, I want to go out looking my best. And then I did a photo shoot for, I think it was the New York Times. I don't remember. Maybe it wasn't the New York Times. And I was in bare feet because at that point I was like, I'm not going to do point shoes and, I'm going to just move. And I did this photo shoot and I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, I'm a ballerina. Like, I've trained my whole life in point shoes to do this thing. And so I was like, I felt like such a phony. And so the next day I put my point shoes on. And so I guess I trained for maybe 3 or 4 months in point shoes. And I was ready. I was. And so, I like, just stay true to who you are.
100%. And I was thinking as someone who played basketball, how difficult it can be, the athleticism, but it requires coordination, it requires grace. And I was like, watching your follow doc, I was like, oh, I couldn't do what she did. I could not, because we have support on our shoes. We have all these technology to help us ease the pain, but pain has been a part of your story. Can you sort of break down how point shoes have been a challenge, but it's something that mentally ballerinas have to overcome?
Yeah, it's not the most natural thing, right? But, it's such a beautiful way of kind of showing this ethereal kind of elevation as if we are floating and flying and appear very graceful. But to me, it's a part of, things that are beautiful, that it kind of takes this grit and earthiness and dedication and consistency to become beautiful. And I think that the point shoe is such an incredible representation of all of those things. You start out as a young person building up the calluses that then become our literal armor. That protect our feet in those point shoes so that you're not bleeding every night when you put on point shoes, but that, that's why they think dancers have such ugly feet. But that's the armor that's protecting us and giving us the strength to be able to support ourselves and stand on our toes. And it takes years and years of training to even get to the point of putting point shoes on. And so I think it's such a beautiful journey and so well worth it to then get to that place where it feels effortless and you can do what seems impossible. And I feel like that's kind of been like the story of my life, and the point shoe and ballet is such a beautiful representation of that.
It absolutely is, and it just reminds me of what my mom told me when I was going through challenges myself with injury. She said at times the beauty of sport can be pain, and embracing that pain, you never know what's on the other side, and clearly it's iconic, right? But one of the most standout performances, The Firebird, which many dub a modern masterpiece, that was probably one of your early peaks.
Yes.
A huge accomplishment, but I think people didn't realize, I watched the follow up, that you were also dealing with a large amount of pain, multiple fractures in your shin. How did you balance that, the expectation to perform, but also knowing the reality of what you were dealing with along with it?
You know, I've had just an unusual, I guess, trajectory, starting at 13, which is considered very late, and then only training for 4 years before I became a professional at American Ballet Theater. And then I wasn't given my first, opportunity to perform a leading role in a classical work until I was 29 years old, which is like, that's like ancient in the ballet world. And as a Black woman, like I was getting opportunities, from the time I joined the company, I was doing the lead in the more modern pieces and contemporary pieces, but Black and brown dancers have often been kind of put into this box and not seen as classical dancers, though that's all I know how to do. That's what I've trained to do, and that's why I'm in this classical ballet company. But so at 29, I was a new choreographer, came into the company, newer at the time for American audiences, Alexei Ratmansky, and he created his own Firebird, and he chose me as one of the Firebirds, even though I was not a principal dancer. And I thought, this is my opportunity, like this is my chance at 29 to prove that I can be a principal dancer, even though it's a late time in a ballerina's life to be promoted. So when I was going into this process of rehearsals, I was starting to feel pain in my shin, and I was seeking, physical therapy and everything outside of American Ballet Theater, because I knew if they knew I was starting to feel this pain, they would have taken me out of those rehearsals, and I never would have been given an opportunity again. I knew it at my age, and being a Black woman and having someone from the outside come in and see me as a classical dancer. And so I did all the maintenance I could, kind of like keeping it quiet within the company. And I did that first performance in New York City at the Metropolitan Opera House, and it was the first time we'd ever seen Black and brown people show up in the way that they did. I mean, it was a sold-out show. More than half of the audience was, people of color, and the Met had never seen anything like that for classical ballet. And so it was like, well, this is what I did it for. And I didn't care if it was just that one show. I felt like it was going to make leaps in terms of like what Black dancers have done at that level. And then the next morning I found out I had 6 stress fractures in my tibia, and I ended up having to have a plate screwed in. But the fact that I did that performance, and I think showed not only American Ballet Theater what I was capable of, but the greater community that wanted to see themselves reflected on the stage, and said, I will come and support if I see someone who looks like me on that stage.
And that was truly it was truly a transformational moment. And as athletes, and I guess I'll start with that question, do you consider ballet more of an art or sport or just both?
Yeah, you can't separate the two. They're so completely intertwined. I mean, and I think that the classical ballet world community, I think, has really shied away from like that. Kind of owning that, like athleticism, I think, because people want you to feel like it's magical, and that you don't really know what it takes to, and that you're seeing that how effortless it appears when a professional does it on the stage. So it looks easy to a lot of people, and I think something that I've really wanted to do, and I did, with Under Armour, becoming an Under Armour athlete, is showing the work and the athleticism and all the training that it takes and goes into what we do. But I think what makes it even more incredible is that you also have to be an actress. You also have to, you have to know how to tell a story through the athleticism. So it's not just about going out there and kind of gritting your teeth and getting it done and competing, but you have to tell a story, and you have to make it look effortless and beautiful while it's extremely physical. And we get the same injuries as football players and basketball players. I mean, when I went to the doctor who did the surgery on my shin, he works with the Knicks, and he was like, did someone run into you? I don't understand how this happened. He's like, I get this injury happens with a lot of our football players. And I was like, no, it's from jumping.
Yeah, and I do believe that, the way that you learn, whether you're an athlete, you're an entertainer, someone in business, is largely by having great mentors. And one of the best was Raven Wilkinson, who sadly passed away in 2018. And watching a couple scenes with you both was just amazing because you realize that ballet is something that can transcend time.
Yeah.
Because when you guys were arm in arm,
Yeah.
it took her back to a place where she heard the music and she knew exactly what to do, and you were mirrors of each other. Can you talk to me about her impact on your career?
Yeah, it was an interesting time in my life and my career when I learned of her. I was watching a documentary on the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo, which is one of the first American companies that really brought ballet to America in a big way, and they did a lot of touring through the South. And I'm watching this documentary, and I don't know, it was pretty long, but maybe 2 hours in, this elegant black woman comes onto the screen, and I was like,
wait a minute.
I was like, is she black?
Hold up.
I was like, how did I not know that she was in this company in the 1950s? She was the first and only. She became a soloist, which was huge for someone, in that time. And she was touring through the South, and she ended up leaving America because the KKK, they were threatening her life. She ended up having to leave the company because they were like, this is just too much for the company as a whole to deal with. So she ended up moving to Europe and having quite a full career there. But in that moment, it was like this feeling of anger that I'm like, why don't I know, why can't I open up a ballet history book and learn about Raven Wilkinson? Where is our history as Black people in this art form? Where are you seeing our contributions, especially as it's become such an American art form? And so it changed what I felt my purpose was. That it wasn't just about me. It wasn't just about me going on stage and reaching this rank of principal dancer, but what is it all for? And how are we documenting our history? And that's when the focus of all of my books really are on this, subject. It's like, how are we telling stories that are representative of a broader people? I wrote a book about Raven called The Wind at My Back that really kind of tells her story and my story and how they intertwine. But, I found out, immediately I was like, is she alive? How can I meet her? And I found out she lived a block away from me on the Upper West Side in New York, and we became very close friends. And she was just like someone who had lived the life that she did and gone through what she'd gone through. She just had so much love in her heart, and she was just so joyful and positive, and in the way that she talked about her career. And it was like, if she can go through all that she's been through, I'm good. I can get there. I can get to this point.
And you could see that you both were kindred spirits. And you mentioned your book. It's like, oh, I wish we had a book. Let me just write one. Let me just do it. Not just one. Am I correct? Is it 8?
Yes.
Whether children's or not.
Yeah.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
Wow. In your 2021 book, Black Ballerinas, you said if you'd had a book like it when you were getting into ballet, you would have been more prepared for what was to come. Mm-hmm. What weren't you prepared for when you were starting your journey with ballet?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest one was maybe understanding the support that's needed to enter into, I think, anything a young person is doing, but into a field like classical ballet. And that support doesn't have to be that there's another Black woman in the company with me, that we're understanding each other in that way, but that it can come from so many different walks of life, and kind of being open to that. It's something that happened later in my career, understanding that you can seek guidance and support and help in so many ways and through so many spaces, and just to kind of have my eyes more open to that, and also knowing that it's not just about your talent, that there's so many other ways and to show, leadership. And something that's just been so interesting, throughout my journey, the artistic director of American Ballet Theater throughout my career is Kevin McKenzie. And before he promoted me, he said that one of the reasons he felt I was ready was the ways in which I represented ballet, within the company, but in public, and the ways in which I led. And he was like, and when I feel a dancer is ready, it's how they show leadership. And I guess I never really thought of that when I thought about becoming a principal dancer. It's like you're thinking well, I have to be able to do this technical thing and get, all of these things. And to me, I guess I just wish I would have been more prepared, kind of like of the whole picture.
But you created a solution, and it's quite interesting because as you're describing what you did, you know, whether it is joining Under Armour or finding different partnerships to elevate, you know, classical ballet, I just hear like you're the ultimate brand ambassador. You became the face that really created change in different industries and avenues for opportunity and equity. But there sometimes needs to be catalysts, right, to help accelerate that change. And in 2021, you said that the Black Lives Matter movement in response to the killing of George Floyd had really helped move forward the movement toward equity in ballet. How did you see those parallels?
Yeah, it's really fascinating, right? You know, I think that it was in that time that coincided with the pandemic as well, that it was like this perfect storm of realizing, you know, the importance of the arts and the impact that it has on a society and community, and how necessary it is to represent more people and be the voice of more people through art, and that art saves lives, it brings people together, it's unifying, and that we have a real responsibility and a lot of power as artists being on the stage and what we can say through our bodies or through our voices. And I feel like there was a real turning point in the conversations that we were having internally within the ballet world, and at American Ballet Theater, where it was like, oh wow, like this is what I work every day for, but I really didn't know that I would see it in my lifetime. And it was pretty incredible to see the shift that, you know, I've been talking about this my whole career, you know, the lack of diversity and representation, and so to see the ballet world kind of not just kind of put me out there like, okay, she can talk about this, and then we kind of put her away, and then we're just going to continue on. But there were impactful conversations that were happening internally and not just for the public. And there's already been big shifts, you know, even with, you know, the color of ballet slippers. I mean, point shoes, you know, European pink is the color of the tights and the slippers and the point shoes, and that's a reflection of the skin color you're supposed to be in order to be part of this art form. And so, you know, after 5 years of being off and I came back to the stage and now they have point shoes in my color, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, this is progress in a way that maybe people don't truly understand the impact and the messaging behind that, but it's a huge step for us.
And I love how you said it started with necessary conversations, but then it was followed up by actions. And the way I describe it to like the young kids is, okay, everyone wants to be a great shooter in basketball, right? You want to shoot the shot, but you have to follow through. The follow through gives you the highest chance for success. And seeing the follow through with equity and diversity has been transformational. Now, you know, what aspects of ballet do you think need to maybe be let go, and what should replace them?
That's such a hard thing for me. You know, of course there are elements of older ballets. I mean, so much of our repertoire are ballets that were created in like the 1800s. So it's like, you know, it's hard to like continue to tell some of those stories. And so, you know, people have been making tweaks to, you know, whether it's the Nutcracker and the way that different cultures are represented. La Bayadere, I mean, I know that there are still companies, not here in America, that still wear blackface when doing this ballet. But to me, I think that it's not even so much about letting go, it's just about moving forward. It's about bringing in more of a broader range of voices, whether it's the choreographers, the people on the board of directors that are making the decisions behind the scenes, that are sitting on artistic staffs, that I think if you bring in a bigger demographic of people, you're going to see an organic growth and change happen. And I think that's what we've been lacking, is it's like, it's hard, you know, it's hard to say, but so much of our audience is dying off, and it's like we need to bring in a new audience, but we also have to make them excited about the stories that they're seeing on the stage.
This is so relatable, speaking this to a women's basketball player who played at Connecticut, Mohegan Sun. Our audience was older, longtime fans of women's basketball, but then we had transformational change come with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Asia freaking Wilson. And now everybody is a fan. And I even say they're not even fans, they're just stands too. They may not know about basketball, but they stand for Asia Wilson, or they stand for Misty Copeland. And so you helped open those doors. Now, I know we touched on a few of your books, but is ballet and writing in your brain complementary?
Yes.
Ooh,
it is.
okay.
It is. You know, I mean, they're both art forms and an expression, you know, that you're storytelling. And before I danced, I mean, I'm still, I would say, like an introvert, but I was extremely shy and introverted, and I know that a lot of it's because of the way I was brought up. But writing and journaling was something that I did, and it was my way of processing things because I couldn't verbalize them. And so that was kind of the first art, I guess you could say, that I was a part of. And then dance became, and once I discovered ballet, I was like, let me put this pencil down. I got to express this way. But so it was very organic for me to kind of transition, because it's just another form of storytelling, and it's something that's really exciting for me. Even stepping into, you know, the film, television world as a producer, I have a production company and got a lot of exciting projects on the horizon there. But it's all storytelling, and there's something so beautiful in just finding different platforms and different mediums to be able to tell a variety of stories.
Yeah, I want to get to your 5011th role as a producer, but first, you actually, you know, piqued my imagination, because being an introvert growing up, or maybe being a little more shy, not being as outgoing, and then you go to dance and ballet, did you have your own Sasha Fierce moment? Like, did you tell yourself, I'm that girl? What did you tell yourself before you went out and performed? Because like you went into beast mode, no pain is mental, I'm that ish.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever been that person that's been like that, you know. But I kind of like go into this zone that has saved me since I was a little girl. I mean, I'm one of 6 children. I grew up in a single parent home. We were houseless for most of my childhood. There was abuse in the household. So like being in a studio, being on a stage was like this sacred, safe space. And I'd never experienced anything like it in my life. And so that's always been, I think, the place I go to before I go on stage or before I perform. It's like the safest, or I feel like I can be my most genuine self. No one can touch me or do anything or say anything to me. It's like I'm in this protective bubble. You can't see anyone's faces. And it's like the most beautiful, incredible experience. And so I don't ever feel like the pain goes away when I step on the stage, you know, and you transform into these characters. And I think that's the beauty of what we do as dancers, is that yes, you work so hard and you train for hours and hours a day to be able to be strong and perform this technique, but the technique is a language, and then it becomes this way of telling stories and expressing yourself. So I don't know, I've never like kind of had to like hype myself up in that way. It just kind of happens naturally.
But it is relatable going into the zone, because for us, when the ball is tipped, you know exactly what to do, because you have done that repetition, you've practiced, you know your strengths, you know that. I loved hearing that. Oh, I don't need to rehearse. I hear the music and my body knows what to do. That is elevation. That is beautiful. And you touched on some of the projects that you're working on. You're the executive producer of the new documentary Match in a Haystack, which follows a Ukrainian dance troupe putting on their first performance since Russia's 2022 invasion. What drew you to this story?
I mean, it's another way of showing the power of dance, the power of movement in times of crisis. It's how people can express themselves. It's how they can process things. It can bring people together. And I just thought it was like the perfect way to show, the power of dance and what it can do for a people. And I think that there are so many stories that we've not yet seen that kind of highlight dance and the power of movement, and dance as a storytelling mechanism. You know, I think that in Hollywood we've kind of gotten complacent with how we utilize dance. I think it was such an important aspect to storytelling in movies throughout history, you know, in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and then all of a sudden I feel like it kind of came to a halt, and it's not as important. And you see these, kind of tropey movies that tell the same story, Black Swan and Center Stage and all of, that's like, it's kind of confined to this one layer of storytelling. And there's so many more stories that we can tell, and there's so many more ways to utilize dance and movement in film and television.
And I'm really excited for this next chapter of creativity for you. If I can, and this is an audible, I don't know if we can get that like imagery we had to start. Everyone loves that. Clearly we got like sides. Like, please put it back up, because the moment for me, I know that there are so many celebrities on stage and people celebrating you and your performance, but it was when your son ran out. That gave me, I have baby fever, y'all, so. I was like, this is it. This is the full circle moment.
Yeah.
And in your lovely journal entry, you wrote after the birth of your son, he's so small and so vulnerable and yet so powerful in how he's changed me. I've spent so much of my life in motion, chasing perfection, discipline, and control. But this is different. I surrender. It's presence. It's joy.
Yeah.
Going from being in control to surrender, and then having that moment that is etched in his brain for a lifetime. What did it mean to you?
It was the first time he ever saw me perform, so that was extremely meaningful. And I wanted him to be able to really fully understand and experience it in that way, and not just sitting in the audience, but to be able to come on stage and have it be this like tangible thing. I just thought it was really important for him to see that and experience it. And he was a changed little boy the next morning. I was like, who do you think you are? He was telling people he stole the show. I was like, this boy. And my husband was like, a star is born. I'm like, oh my God.
Next generation's coming. No, but it was beautiful. How has motherhood defined you?
I think about just my path and my journey, and I feel like ballet has prepared me in so many ways to be a mother. Even, and this might be too much information, but even like giving birth and like going into labor, because of all I've experienced in being a dancer and being an athlete, I was like, oh, I got this. I understand the like mental preparation in getting yourself there, the breathing, the calm, like the patience. I just feel like in so many ways, I've been prepared for this moment in my life, and he pushes the patience button a lot, and so I'm like, okay, I'm still learning, but I felt so prepared in so many ways.
Yeah, and it was honestly just a beautiful sight to see, and you are so humble and generous, and you have such an open heart, and everyone can feel that, not only in your performance, but I know you can feel that, everyone in this room. I know we're getting to the end of our conversation, but I want to kind of look forward to the future. For those kids out there, maybe, Black and brown kids, people of color, people that might feel like they're under the concrete but are trying to become that flower that makes it out. What do you say to them about their future in arts and why they should choose it and why they should stick with it?
I think no matter, whether or not you go on to be a professional, and you're looking at the arts kind of only in that way as like a pathway to making it into a career, I think it is so vital for us as human beings to experience it. Whether or not it's just taking a class recreationally, like you're learning the skills and the tools to be able to deal with conflict, to be able to be a part of something bigger than yourself. It's teamwork, it's learning empathy, it's learning strength. I think there are so many skills and assets by being a part of an art form, by being a part of a sport, that we're not getting by being in school and not being exposed to it. And that's why I'm such an advocate for arts education and dance education, that it is another tool and another asset that is so important for us to be whatever it is we want to be. This is so important to me. I started my whole foundation off of the basis of this concept.
And I want to focus on that because I know we're running out of time, but what is a moment you've taken that has been so fulfilling from your foundation work?
Just seeing the benefits of what it can do for a community. We started our signature program is called Be Bold, and it stands for Ballet Explorations. Ballet offers leadership leadership development. So the goal is not for these children to go on to become professional dancers. It's to introduce them to these leadership skills so they can go on to be great and leaders in their communities. And so that's the way I look at the arts. Like, yes, I've had success in my career, but it's the human that it's made me. It's that person, looking at that 13-year-old girl who's before, ballet, and the person that I am now to be able to speak in front of, I mean, my family's, they're like, yeah, she's on stage and whatever. But to see me speak in front of like thousands of people, they're like, oh my gosh, like that's what the arts did for you. It gave you this confidence. It gave you like an understanding of your value, and to me, like, that's the beauty of it.
And it gave you a platform to change the world, and you did that. So you said be bold in your foundation, or be Misty, y'all. Be Misty. Thank you so much for your time.
You're amazing. You're amazing.